make a girl a promise. If you know you can't keep it. They let me pick. Did I ever tell you that? Choose whichever Spartan I wanted. You know me. I did my research, watched as you became the soldier we needed you to be.
Welcome everyone to a very special episode of the Xbox Series podcast. In our honor, Xbox have scheduled probably what will end up being one of the biggest scheduled what will end up being one of the biggest podcasts in the history of YouTube to coincide with our little show. They've gone for the old the massive Xbox Series podcast show is on. We've got some news some people might not like. Let's just sneak it under the radar. We'll go live at the same time as them. We're not going to let them get away with it. We're going to co-stream that. We're going to get all of the content. We're going to listen to it. We're going to respond with all of you. We've got a few minutes, 7 minutes before it appears on YouTube. It's not there just yet, but before it appears on YouTube. So let's find out how our glorious co-hosts are doing. Deadly Headley, how are you doing? Are you excited?
I'm good, thank you, mate. I am excited. We'll see how it goes. But yes, very good, thank you, mate. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. I'm actually really looking forward to getting some nice clarity on all the stuff. It puts all the rumors to rest to find out what's actually happening. So I'm looking forward to it, even if only for shutting some people up. Gamzly, your face says you're not well. Are you okay? Little bit crazy.
Just a little bit crazy. I'm ready for this. I'm so excited for this. It's either Twitter's gonna blow up and the nuclear warhead's gonna drop and everybody's gonna burn, or it's gonna be happy and we're gonna be in Ponyville and we're gonna dance around and sing songs together, or it's gonna be a civil war. I can't wait. I'm here for it though.
Do you know, in all of this, the bit that I really, really couldn't give any shits about is how the Twitter community responds to any of it. Like, whatever. Do what you're going to do.
It's so fun.
Everybody is going to have their own take on this, aren't they? But I think really all we can do is take the facts that we've got and pick them apart afterwards. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, for those that are joining us here, thank you for coming and watching with us. I know there are a lot of places and a lot of people giving their reactions and their feedback and their predictions and all the rest of it. Our plan is to be relatively quiet while the podcast is on so that you can take in all of the detail. We're not going to try and ruin it for you or talk over the good bits. We'll be here with you. We'll be in chat. We'll be making like dramatic facial expressions depending on what happens, like or we'll see how that one goes. But
can't even
we will be fairly quiet,
but
so
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, something to look forward to, right? So we'll see how that one goes. But don't worry, you are going to be able to take it all in, absorb it, and draw your own conclusions on the things that they're saying. Then at the end of it, I don't know how long it runs for, but at the end of it, we'll discuss it in the way that you'd expect. We'll react, we'll respond, we'll see what it means, and have some fun, because that's what we like to do here. So we got 5 minutes before it goes on. Deadly Headley, 4 minutes now. Tell people exactly what to expect. You don't need to make any wild guesses or anything, because I won't be having anyone taking any credit for anything afterwards. But what do you reckon? What do you reckon we're getting? Is it going to be good feelings or bad feelings?
I have a mixture of good and bad feelings. I think my bad feelings are mainly towards discourse and fallout, etc., because I think it's very difficult in this day and age to just have a conversation that is completely pragmatic. Emotion is going to play into it, and that kind of just is par for the course. In terms of what I'm expecting from from an excitement perspective, it can't make mouth words apparently. I'm expecting to see some sort of paradigm shift, and I'm excited to see what is said and what is planned and what is revealed.
Gamzly, best case scenario, what's going to make this a good show for you?
Death and destruction. All of it. All of it. No, it's a good show if we get like a solid, how I talked about like in other podcasts, if we get like Microsoft's foot on the pedal of their idea, like what they see moving forward, and just, put their foot on the pedal and go for it, whether it's good or bad, or we think it's good or bad. I just want them to have a straight vision and straight messaging. Like, I'm super excited about that. Hopefully we get that today and not like mixed bullshit. But that's what I'm hoping for. If we get that, I'm all good because I'm all for games and Xbox has games, so I'm all for that.
We're very similar in that regard. The main thing that I want from it is I want them to commit to whatever it is that their vision is, like a positive vision, come at it from that angle of framing it in a way like how it benefits us, what's good about it, and actually commit to it fully, be it a multi-platform strategy or anything else. I don't care what it is per se. Obviously I do care what it is, but I just want commitment to a positive message, and then I'll be happy with whatever it is. At the moment, they're keeping it hidden. The podcast hasn't appeared on the YouTube channel, so they're leaving it very last minute. I think it's going to go live at 8 o'clock. As soon as it does, it'll be up and we'll be getting it going. I do have a light that I need to switch on. So, Deadly Headley, do you have any concerns? Anything that you're worried? Anything that you think will cause like riots?
I think there's a high chance of that happening either way. No, I think honestly, my concern here is that Microsoft isn't going to make its messaging clear enough. It needs to very clearly outline what expectations are, what the circumstances around exclusivity are going to be going forward, or we're just going to keep entering this repetitive cycle of psychodrama. They need to kind of just draw a line under it and go, this is where the industry is heading. This is where we are competing. This is why we're not as concerned about fighting off PlayStation than you are. I don't know if we're going to get that conversation from them. So I think, my concern is that they might not actually be able to make this as cut and dry as I think fans deserve for it to be at this point, because the discourse has been so crazy, and hopefully they've taken note of that. Whether they follow through is a different matter.
Ryan said, do you think they're going to shadow drop a game? The better question is, if they shadow drop a game, what platform are they going to shadow drop it to? We'll find out soon enough.
Well done.
Still no podcast. I think I did tweet this one out. We've got more people here than I perhaps expected. So thank you, honestly, everyone that's come talk to you with us. Thank you for that. It is going to get started any second now. It's going to appear. I am refreshing.
I very quickly tell you what I've been playing. Because one answer is going to trigger... In fact, both answers might trigger Gamzly, but we'll see how we go.
If you say Last of Us, I'll fucking...
I did play The Last of Us Part 2. I played its roguelike mode. And then do you know what I played immediately afterwards while not expecting for it to be a roguelike? Go Mecha Ball. It was interesting.
Oh, interesting. Yes, that's on my side. He's fallen on my side of Go Mecha Ball.
No. He said interesting. You said straight up bad, Asa.
Interesting is just more polite and diplomatic.
I'm not going to go as far as straight up bad. I thought the control scheme was kind of awkward. I thought the wayfinding was interesting, but unfortunately not necessarily user-friendly enough. And the visuals and the audio were far too much at the time of night that I played it, and the amount of tired that I was. So I did sort of mute the audio and stick something really chill on in the background. But I got to the first boss. I haven't killed it yet, but I do intend on killing the first boss and then probably uninstalling it.
and that's just because the criteria that Gamzly set out. You want to get that far so that you can say with authority, Asa was right. You can say it now.
I've been waiting all week to settle this conversation because I played it on Thursday night. So thanks for just letting me slide that under the rug.
At least I respect you. You got to a boss. You know what I mean? You're going to fight one and then leave. It's fine.
Honestly, talking about the wayfinding, because I genuinely forgot that it was a roguelike. So I died and I was like, oh, okay, I'm back here. Really, I've got to go and do the training level again. So I did the whole training run again. But it was actually quite helpful because the controls made a little bit more sense that time. It's all right. Yeah.
There's still no
It's not going to win
podcast.
any awards, but
I'm
it
just
was
gonna
interesting.
mute both of you. Anyway, so point
That's
is,
fine.
it's all on Game Pass. All right, go pop in and have some fun.
You won't find that in Go
I'll-
Makeable. There are other games that are available on Game Pass where you can find plenty of fun. If you're worried that you're missing the podcast right now, you're not. It is still not listed. So I am refresh as soon as it is available, and I'm surprised it's not up promptly and on time. But as soon as it is available, we will catch the whole thing.
That's them looking at the PlayStation news about they don't have any first parties coming out in like 2 years, so they're like, hit the emergency button, pull it
Quick
all back,
re-recorded.
change the messaging. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
I'll also go.
Our painful
for,
Discord says it's up. I'm refreshing again. Hold on.
Oh, is it?
I still don't see it, but I'm refreshing. I'm on the Xbox channel. It's not there. Can anybody see it right now?
I don't think it is. Boys.
Wait, hold on. It's a 20-minute video shared 3 minutes ago.
Videos?
Might be wrong on that, but
Yes.
Adrian, I'm sending you a link now.
I know. Yeah,
Is that
here
it?
it is. It's coming. All right, we're going to bring that up. It is 20 minutes, which is shorter than I thought for a podcast. I've got the wrong view.
Yeah, I was expecting more than that.
Right, let's go.
Welcome to the official Xbox podcast. I'm your host, Tina Amini, and we have a very special episode today, as you can probably tell by the fact that I'm joined by Phil, Sarah, and Matt. Welcome. And we're going to talk about some updates at Xbox. We want to talk about game exclusivity. We want to talk about Activision Blizzard now that they're part of our portfolio, how that might be an impact on Game Pass. And we want to talk about hardware, too, and how all of this fits into the strategy at Xbox. So where should we start, Phil?
Well, when we originally had planned for the show, starting back in December, I think we probably would have started with Activision Blizzard, maybe talked a little bit about the exclusivity with some of the news coming up, and then hardware. But we've had some unforeseen news that has come out. So let's just go and tackle the exclusivity question, because I know it's on the minds of a lot of people. We hear from the community, and that's an important input for us. So we made the decision that we're going to take 4 games to the other consoles, just 4 games, not a change to our kind of fundamental exclusive strategy. We're making these decisions for some specific reasons. We make every decision really with the long-term health of Xbox in mind. And long-term health of Xbox means a growing platform, our games performing, building the best platform for creators, reaching as many players as we can. We're always looking to learn as a leadership team and to grow. And we think this is an interesting point in time for us to use what some of the other platforms have right now to help grow our franchises. So we're going to do that.
So these 4 titles, what are they? Can you say?
I'm not going to name those games. The teams that are building those games have announced plans that are not too far away. As we know, game teams put a lot of energy into their announcements with the partners. So I don't want to take anything away from those teams. So I won't be talking about the titles specifically, but I think when they come out, it'll make sense.
Can we say if either of those titles are Starfield or Indiana Jones?
They are not Starfield or Indiana Jones.
Well, what was the criteria in how the team was thinking about selecting those 4 titles?
Let me start a little bit outside of that, and then I'll get to the 4 specific games that we're talking about right now. Because the fundamental decision driver for any decision that we make, anything we're going to talk about today, is the long-term health of Xbox. That we're running a growing platform that is reaching more players, that our games are having as much success as possible. And I do have a fundamental belief that over the next 5 or 10 years, exclusive games that are exclusive to one piece of hardware, are going to be a smaller and smaller part of the game industry. And that's not some great insight, because if you look at the last 10 years and what the biggest games are today, it's a natural place. Whether it's one console and PC, multiple consoles, mobile console and PC, you see big games landing on multiple platforms. And we want to be a great platform for creators that are trying to realize that potential. But now back to the specifics of the question on these four specific titles. We looked at games that are over a year old, so they've been on Xbox and PC for a while. A couple of the games are community-driven games, new games that kind of first iterations of a franchise that have reached their full potential, I'd say, on Xbox and PC. There's always growth. Franchises that we obviously want to continue to invest in. Part of having the ability to continue to invest is that the businesses behind those franchises continue. We think it's important that these service-based games that have communities behind them, that they can have confidence that they're going to exist in the future. So 2 of them, kind of community-driven games that will end up on other platforms and give us the ability to continue to invest in them. We think that's great for the business and great for the communities, more players to play with. I'd say 2 of the other games are smaller games that were never really meant to be built as kind of platform exclusives and all the fanfare that goes around that. But games that our teams really wanted to go build, that we love supporting creative endeavors across our studios, regardless of size. And as they've realized their full potential on Xbox and PC, we see an opportunity to utilize the other platforms as a place to just drive more business value out of those games, allowing us to invest in maybe future iterations of those, so sequels to those, or just other games like that in our portfolio. And when we don't damage Xbox and we can grow our business using what other platforms have and to help us with that, we're going to do that. And that's really the story behind these 4 games. And last thing I'll say, looking forward, I think there is an interesting story for us of introducing Xbox franchises to players on other platforms to get them more interested in Xbox. We think there's a good brand value for Xbox there. So 4 games, no promise beyond that. So if you're on those other platforms and you see these 4 games coming, please don't take it as some signal that everything's coming. It's not. And we're going to learn.
So when you are thinking about the future and this concept of live service games, games that can benefit from bigger audiences, new audiences, how does that apply to future titles and how you're applying that criteria there?
Yeah, there's really no fundamental change to how we think about exclusivity. We just came out of Developer Direct, which was an awesome show, where we showed great games that are coming to Xbox and PC and cloud, which really makes them accessible to hundreds of millions of people. So it's this kind of, we're really focused on a couple platforms and what's going to show up there. But our key of play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, when everybody plays, we all win. These have been part of our strategy for years and will continue to be. Our focus is on how do we continue to grow the games industry by reaching more players in more places, and how do we grow Xbox as part of that. Xbox is a hardware platform, Xbox is a publisher of great games, and Xbox as a platform for the world's best creators.
Mm-hmm. And then knowing that, how do we think about our first-party games and Game Pass?
Yeah, well, to build on what Phil just said, one thing I would add, as you were talking about growth, is just that we've sort of seen this inversion over the last 5 years where it used to be that the platform was the biggest thing.
That's right.
And the games would sort of tuck in within the platform. Today, big games like a Roblox or a Fortnite could actually be bigger than any one platform.
Yeah,
and that really has changed the way that we think about things. So in the midst of all that, I think we at First Party can come back to sort of some core principles. First, that all of our games will be on the Xbox platform. Second, all of our games will go into Game Pass on day 1. And third, we know that Game Pass will only be available on Xbox. So there's sort of starting points for us. As Phil mentioned, there are games today that you can play that only can be found on Xbox. And at the same time, we want to bring more of our games to more players. So we're going to continue to look at that. Kind of moving aside, though, from some of those and thinking more about what does it really mean for the player, to me, the 2 key things are cross-play and cross-save. Those things allow us to deliver on the promise of Xbox, which is play with your friends where they are, play on the devices you want, play the games you want. So that is really only possible at a practical level when you know that your saves and your player are going to be able to move across all those parts. So not all of our games today are necessarily built to take advantage of that. There still will be some games that don't. As we bring more teams into the Xbox family, there's some catch up to do as we get there. But that cross-play, cross-save is like so fundamental to what we're doing, and I think is something that we as first party get such a good benefit from being so close to the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the things, like you said, all of our games are always in Game Pass. And so I'm excited to announce, with the coming together that we had with Activision Blizzard King, that Activision and Blizzard games are coming to Game Pass, starting with Diablo 4 on March 28th, which I'm super, super excited to share today. And it's all part of our commitment to make the Xbox experience and the games that we build as widely available as possible. So now the 34 million Game Pass members can all enjoy the fantastic experience of Diablo 4.
Amazing. Can we come back to the point, Phil, you mentioned at the top, this isn't really a change in strategy
crazy,
for
honestly.
us. Can you recap for me how it isn't?
How bad that got.
And I thought both Matt and Sarah did a really nice job of talking about what we're doing on Xbox, where we're going. If you take a platform feature like Xbox Play Anywhere, which has been a promise that we've made on our first party games, that you can buy our game once, you're going to get to play across Xbox and Windows. I think we're the only platform that does this. That makes it possible for you not only to play with your friends wherever they are, but to know that you actually have multiple entitlements to the games. I think that's a technology I would love to see applied to more platforms. But it is this view that people are going to play Xbox in multiple places. Whether it's play the games you want with the people you want, anywhere you want, whether it's content, community, and cloud, whether it's when everybody plays, we all win. Like, we've had different taglines, different strategy, kind of words that we've used, but always with this view that Xbox is a platform for creators who want to reach the most players. Our investments in xCloud, our investments in franchises like Minecraft and now Call of Duty and other large franchises so that we learn how to build those. This has been a strategy that we've been on for, I'd say, a decade. It's not about one device. It's not about games in service of a device, but rather the devices that people want to play on should be in service of making the games as big and popular as they possibly could be. Because really, a healthy creator community on Xbox, a healthy creator community in gaming all up, is the thing that all of us as game players should be voting for, because that's the thing that will lead to the best long-term success and growth in this industry.
And my understanding, just from listening and learning from you three over the past few weeks, just understanding what's happening with Xbox, is that we see trends with player behavior where people are playing on multiple devices. That is the reality. And we have put some games out on multiple platforms before. So my understanding is that that's been good for players. How does that come back to the business with all of that in mind?
Yeah, as you said, we have shipped games on other platforms. In fact, realistically, if you look with the addition of Activision and Blizzard and ZeniMax, we're one of the largest game publishers on PlayStation. We're one of the largest publishers on the Nintendo Switch, especially when you put Minecraft into the equation as well. And now we're one of the largest publishers on mobile platforms as well. And that's not something that we want to back away from. We want to continue to be building great games that millions and millions of people can love, and that they can play those games where they want to go play. But we do understand the business success that Xbox has to have. Us as leaders in this business, the system today, the system that all companies that we play video games from, is a world of you got to be growing your business. Growth in our Xbox business is critical to the long-term health of Xbox. Many people know I've been on Xbox for over 20 years. And I want to make sure Xbox is in the best position for the next 20 years. That means healthy player community, healthy creator community, and healthy business. So when we look at opportunities to allow more people to play, more people engage, more people to buy, more people to subscribe, it's all about putting Xbox in the best position. And our hardware is a critical component of that. The absolute best experience somebody has on Xbox is hardware that your team builds and that people play on. But that's not going to be everybody. We fully accepted that we're going to have Xbox players across all kinds of devices.
So I think a lot of people think about 2023 as this incredible year for gaming. And in a lot of ways it was. There were some really amazing releases that I think we all enjoyed. But what were the signals behind the scenes that maybe indicated how we wanted to look at the future of Xbox and how we kind of keep up with the industry?
Yeah, such a good question. And I think it's, as people who care about the industry, which I assume is people who are watching this, it was an amazing year. Some great launches, some of the games that I think will stand the test of time and people will be talking about a decade from now. But it's an industry that didn't really grow. And what happens when an industry doesn't grow? You end up with some job eliminations, which we had. We had even our own hard decisions to make about building a sustainable business for ourselves, but in no way were we alone in that. When you think about a healthy industry, I want players who believe that they will find the best games on the platforms that they love. I want people who invest their careers in working here to feel like this is a place that they can be successful. And that really is down to being part of an industry that is growing. If you listen to Lisa Su, the AMD CEO, she'll say that AMD-powered consoles are likely to decline in 2024. I think there's an amazing set of games coming in 2024, but if we don't get to growing as an industry, the industry will struggle. And today there's really two choices on how do you grow the industry. Do you say I have a fixed number of players, the players that we have today, and do I find new ways to monetize those players to get more money from the players that I have? Or do you think about how do I expand the business I have by finding new players and adding those to the base of players that already play? Our focus on Xbox for the last decade has really been on that latter point of how do we make sure Xbox is growing for our players, growing for our creators, so those people are finding success on our platform, which will grow the Xbox business and put Xbox in a position to be very strong for years and decades to come.
Matt, earlier you were talking about these growing gaming communities, how they're incredibly large and comparable on such a different level when we think about console audiences. Like you mentioned Roblox, you mentioned Fortnite. So how are we're obviously thinking about our responsibility, our hardware responsibility is supporting the growth of gaming communities. How has that actually shown up for the players? Are there other games we can speak to from our portfolio?
Well, as Phil mentioned, two of the biggest ones for us, Call of Duty and Minecraft, they are driven just from the bottom up by the communities of people that play those games, which is so great. I think about it, for the player community, it comes down to where are the friends, where are the people you play with, and then equally important is where have you built up your library of games, right? Where have you invested? Where's that library? I think those two things probably are some of the biggest influences on where people choose to play and what devices they choose to play.
Yeah.
When we think about, on the other side, the developer side, just any game developer wants their game to find the biggest audience possible. That's just the nature of building a game. You want people to enjoy and participate in what you've made. And I think we're in a unique position to deliver on that just because we are the platform. We build hardware, we've got a first-party games group, and then we've got a system that ties that together, that brings together your friends, your progression, your achievements, all of that. And I think that's really what has contributed to the momentum behind some of these communities.
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at, just step back and you look at the history of the industry, we've moved from a place where it used to be that someone built and launched a game to accelerate hardware to actually the things we do with our hardware and with our platform are all in service of making those games bigger. And we think about that across all of the investments we make, the consoles we build, the investments we do with things like cross-play, cross-progression, the things that we're doing with cloud. How do we actually give more options to game creators so they can have the greatest success? I think one of the fun recent examples about this is actually Power World. Power World was able to launch, they were a game preview, they launched in Game Pass, they also simultaneously launched in Steam. And through the combination of those things, Pocket Pair was able to have this outsized success, and it was the largest third-party Game Pass launch ever. And that's all because we give creators options on how they can launch their games. We've got subscription, we've got retail, we've got free-to-play, we've got game preview. We have the consoles, we have our experience on PC, and they can access all of those things. And when we step back and we just look at the performance of our platform all up, we know it's working. We're at the highest level of users on console, the highest level of users on PC, the highest level of users on cloud ever. We have double-digit growth rate on PC and cloud, places where we're enabling creators to actually reach new players beyond the console ecosystem. And that's why we're leaning into it and doing more, because we see all those signals.
So we're talking about the role that hardware plays for creators, for the games and those communities. What about the role that hardware plays for us as a business, for Xbox?
When we look at our hardware, it really is, and Phil said this earlier, it's where you get like the most flagship seminal experience of Xbox. And it also represents a developer target. Our developers can build the specs of our hardware, and we invest to make sure they know when they do that the games are going to run great on our hardware, but they're also going to be able to be accessed across any screen because of all the other investments we make. So we're giving them an easy way to access as many players as possible. And we actually have more creators right now building for Xbox than ever before by nature, thousands of them by nature of those investments. And we got more to come. There's some exciting stuff coming out in hardware that we're going to share this holiday. And we're also invested in the next generation roadmap. And what we're really focused on there is delivering the largest technical leap you will have ever seen in a hardware generation, which makes it better for players and better for creators and the visions that they're building.
And then when we're talking about hardware too, there's these other considerations that are really important to our community, probably to each one of ourselves as well. When you talk about library, because I want to dig in on that a little bit more. You know, as we talk about cloud in the wider entertainment industry, there's conversations about streaming. How is that impacting how I own my content that I've invested in? So what can we say about our stance around game preservation?
Yeah, you know, one of the highlights for me of being in this position was getting to stand on stage when we announced the back compat coming to Xbox One. Like, it was fantastic. People were reading the teleprompter before I could read it. I'm a slow reader, and just feeling the energy in the auditorium as we were saying that and online. You know, one of the cues I think us as being part of Microsoft take is looking at Windows and how Windows over decades has maintained software compatibility with things that are built on it. Like, I can still go back and play some of the games that I love playing on Windows from decades ago, and it will still run. And we try to bring that same view to consoles. It's harder in console because the line between what the hardware is and what the game is in consoles is traditionally, it's tighter, which makes compatibility, you end up doing these generational compatibilities that we've built. But I will say compatibility, the ability to not only play the games, but my saves are still there with our cloud save systems to try to keep the services up as long as we can so that people can play, is a tenet of what we are as Xbox. It's at our foundation. And when we look at future hardware generations and what we're going to support, making sure that we respect, which is the word I use, respect the investments that people have made in Xbox going forward is fundamental. And the fact that you get entitlements when you buy a game from us on both Windows and Xbox also means you have the ability to play that game across a multitude of devices, which I think furthers the compatibility of the games that you own.
Can we go back to what Xbox stands for today? I think we've pretty much covered all of the elements, but if you could break it down for me.
You know, when you play on Xbox, what we're saying is you're playing on a platform where you know the biggest games in the world are always going to be. You're playing on a platform where you get to access Game Pass. And all of the games from our incredible range of studios will always launch in Game Pass day one. And you're playing on a platform that's dedicated to you, like player-first features, cross-play, cross-save, cross-progression, backwards compatibility, being able to play your games in your library anywhere you want because of the investments that we make in cloud gaming. And so you're playing somewhere where you're investing and you know you get to take the games forward with you and across all of the screens where you are. And I think most importantly, Xbox is a place where you know when you're investing in Xbox, you're investing somewhere that is dedicated to making games more successful and creators more successful so that they can invest more to bring even better experiences to you all of the time.
Yeah, just that investment in the studios is so, and we feel that as part of first party with the platform proximity. You know, it's kind of amazing now to look out across all the studios we've got and just be reminded that we're now one of the biggest development organizations in the industry. What does that mean for players? It means that the biggest games are going to continue to come to Xbox. And this 2024, the year coming up, we've got more than 10 major releases coming up. Great stuff. Hellblade 2. We've got Diablo expansion. We've got Avowed, Ara, the Indiana Jones game. And there's more in development, which I think we're going to be able to share more about at our June showcase coming up pretty soon.
Well, I guess I should get ready to work on that show. Well, thank you all for showing up on the podcast today, and we'll see the rest of you this June.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tina.
Thank you.
Well. I'm actually shocked at how, like, we're just going to carry on. That really was. It's barely even an update. Like, the things that you know that we're doing, we're still doing them. You're still getting your games day one on Game Pass.
Yep.
There's a very limited amount of games that we will explore multi-platform for, as we had already been doing. And the community are a bunch of jackasses.
Yeah, such
You know-
fucking jackasses, man.
You know
Such
what they
fucking
did?
Jackasses, dude.
You know what the guys at Xbox just did for everybody? They did this.
But without the fire. There was no fire. They were like, no, actually,
There was no fire.
really was
Just-
fine.
This is
First
fine.
Yeah, man. Like, can I just first off, I want to take I'm just gonna say this. One tiny quick victory lap for Gamzly. All right? The victory lap for Gamzly was they specifically pulled up as a huge viewpoint the cross progression and cross save that I talked about in the episode before. That changed the game, and PlayStation's fucking scared of that because they know they have so many nukes coming to Game Pass, and they know Game Pass is going to be the seller of literally every generation. They know people are going to come play over here with cross-save, cross-play. They know it. It's like, oh, well, why leave my ecosystem? Well, your ecosystem's saves are over here as well. So come, it's free. It's all good. Come join us. They know it's a powerful thing. They know they're going to get a win in the next 5 years. They know. Anyway.
Asa also caught several W's in that. Caught several. I think the quick thing that I just wanted to sort of highlight was that they made it very, very clear that they are intending on putting everything that they make on Game Pass. So I am going to go ahead and assume that does also mean Call of Duty, which will be a massive user driver for people who haven't necessarily moved up to the following generation, but are considering buying Call of Duty at some point. We don't know what that market looks like, and we had that conversation last week about people already being in digital ecosystems, etc., etc. But I think the reality of this is that Xbox doesn't really care. Like, it's not upset about having the smaller ecosystem because its ecosystem is still fucking huge and it's growing and they're happy with it. So they've sort of gone quite definitive on, can you stop fighting on Twitter, please?
Well, they surely did. They surely did. Like for instance, first off, shout out to Sarah Bond. They really did some really good things here. Subtle things. Every time Sarah Bond talked about something, it was positive. So they talked about, Diablo dropping really soon on Game Pass. She talked about everything's coming to Game Pass still, ABK specifically, all that stuff. They didn't name drop Call of Duty, which is still open for them to say, well, we considered it. That's something to note. That's still left in the air.
That is true. That is true. They haven't gone definitive.
Right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I disagree. I think what they said was definitive. And they will get called up on it if they walk it back now, because they said every game.
Yeah, it's true. But right. That's where what's his name, Booty, was very straightforward there. He was like, every big franchise is coming. Don't worry, it's all our first party. Blah blah blah. So I agree with you, but good on them for making Sarabon drop the good stuff and the good nuggets. By the way, that woman talks so well. I love her. Anyways, next.
What are your thoughts, Asa? Where are you at?
I'm imagining that right now there are a whole load of people running around social media claiming that everything changed because they cried in the way that they did. I just want to get ahead of that and say, no, that's not what happened. This is just, they should disappear for a month in shame and embarrassment. They should bow their heads and keep on bowing until they're never seen again. I cannot believe
that. Somebody, please. Thanks.
The extent of the hysteria for Xbox to come out and just say, things are cool. We're really pleased with what we've done so far and we're going to keep on doing it. It's an unbelievable response from the Xbox community. I don't know.
It's crazy. They had to. I can't believe they actually had to have this sit down where we're like, we're gonna keep making hardware. Surprise, it's really successful and we have a lot of numbers. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. It never did. And we've said it on the podcast. It never made sense to me, and I don't know what the fuck is wrong with people. But yeah. I'm with you, Asa. Mustard hearts need to calm the fuck down a little bit.
Oh, that's, you know what? Explain that one to me. I hear that phrase going around. What does it actually mean, mustard heart?
Oh, it's just Iron Lord's, King David, he does his little console war stuff, and it's just soft-hearted, basically. Soft-hearted people that flip-flop. Yeah. That he just made it up. I'm just gonna continue.
Okay, so it doesn't have some rooted.
No.
Fair enough.
So. Yeah.
I don't even know where to take that. Right.
I took some notes. Should we just do you want to just go through it, summarize it, and we'll talk about it?
Let's go.
Yeah.
So 4 games, no change to their current exclusivity strategy. It's not changing. They are focused on the long-term health of Xbox. Starfield and Indiana Jones are not going multi-platform. Whether that changes down the line, fuck knows. But for the time being, they've gone very, very definitive on that. These things aren't happening. All the hysteria, just
holiday.
Let's park it.
Holiday hardware as well.
Yeah, that was a big one. Asa, your first W last week. I think it was last week. You talked about.
I don't claim any victory points or anything, but carry on.
You specifically talked about Fortnite and Roblox being platforms, surprisingly big platforms, and Xbox very openly went, yeah, those platforms are even bigger than ours is. That's the nature of the industry that we're living in. It's not the plastic box wars anymore. This comes down to Xbox being a platform that is competing with other platforms, plural, not just the blue box or the red one. Day one isn't going anywhere. Diablo 4th of March. 28th of March.
28th of March, yeah.
Yeah.
Have either of you already got Diablo?
Yeah, I do already have Diablo. It was, yeah. I was actually quite excited about it, to be fair. I have dropped off it, but I'll pick it back up again. Apparently, this season pass for the monetization isn't great, but I don't plan on spending any money on it. So
I haven't finished the game yet because that's how hard I fell off of it. But throughout all of the ABK discourse, Blizzard games coming to Game Pass was the tangible benefit that I was looking for. So to see that one announced and happening in real after people were doubting it for so long, that's nice. Even if that game hasn't necessarily hit for me. I do already own it, so
it's about to get massive, man. Like, it's about to get massive. Even if I suspect that goes up by at least 7 million, right? When that drops, at least, especially for the PC crowd. If they haven't already, their friends that have Game Pass are going to convince them. It's a thing that you could play online with 4 people. It's an easy, probably triple in numbers for them for whatever they have going on. It might even breathe it back to life a little bit, depending on if they could time it with like a season drop or something. I want to get to something though. Where do we think, like, what games do we think are those 4 games?
Yeah, that was something I was going to suggest we backtrack to as well.
So
do we?
3 of them are almost confirmed already. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
Grounded, Pentiment, Hi-Fi, and what was the other one?
Sea of Thieves.
Yeah,
of those 4, Grounded is the only one that's not already been heavily speculated on or more or less confirmed.
Yeah,
but they did
say
in the show they said
wild thing.
It could be a wild thing. They said there's 2 smaller games, which will be Pentiment and Hi-Fi Rush, that just fit the bill in the description, and they said there were 2 community-focused games. So Sea of Thieves is an obvious shout on the community-focused one because that is the entirety of the game is community-driven. Grounded is a little bit different in that it's a 4-player game that's not so interconnected as a game like Sea of Thieves. So it could be Grounded is one I'm not sure about. It could be something that's more service driven than Grounded, but it would kind of fit there as well. I don't know.
Halo, can it?
It seems unlikely with the kind of attitudes that they just presented on stage in front of us about how much they do take Xbox as a brand seriously and they do take their exclusivity seriously. I'd be surprised if it was Halo. I'm not as sure on Grounded. It could be Grounded. Grounded was my immediate guess when they said it, but
that really has reassured me that actually they're without them having to say our pillar IPs are important to us. By not going anywhere near them, I actually think they've said everything. They've just like clearly all of this crap on Twitter for the last couple of weeks has just been completely overblown and completely out of control. I have no idea how the media is going to row this back tomorrow because they're going to look pretty stupid as well because it's been everywhere. It's
Well,
It's
I mean,
crazy.
some of them correctly said most of it, right? I mean, they
so Sea of
specifically
Thieves,
it
Hyper Rush,
specifically
yes.
yeah, it specifically started with Sea of Thieves and Hi-Fi Rush, and then like maybe Pentiment or whatever. I'm pretty sure I saw one on Pentiment, but
Not even the guys who have actually reported rumors, but then the outlets who have just picked it up and recycled it. So, anybody that sits just outside of the games news journalism bubble, pushing things out into wider social media platforms. Yeah, the I wonder what the actual scale of the PR damage is, and I wonder if I don't know. Maybe we were overthinking the PR damage. What are your thoughts on that, Asa?
Yeah, Asa, go ahead.
as in the PR damage to Xbox.
Or
to-
just sort of what the speculation and uncertainty that hopefully now gets dispelled quite quickly. But it has still been on fire for 2
or it
weeks.
should have shone a light on how much more discerning people need to be in what they believe, what they quote, what they take for truth. And I'm not so much talking about like the fans on Twitter that hear things, get scared and run wild, but people running websites and posturing as journalists shouldn't be getting rumors from 4chan or like seeing a rumor that's essentially come from a forum like that, been blown up by one outlet, and then going, well, if that outlet's done it, it's probably worth reporting on, and making that a valid source of news and cycling it around. And we know that this goes on and on and on. It's not new for this particular circumstance, but this circumstance was so blown out of proportion and had such a massive ripple and wave of impact on a fan base. You'd like to think that they'd look at that and reconsider how they generate their content. More likely, this will be forgotten about by tomorrow. People will forget what a freaking disaster it was. People will celebrate that they've managed to change Xbox's mind by crying tears of shame. Nothing's going to change, is it?
No, it's quite pathetic. The only thing that will change is that Microsoft's position is just going to get higher and higher. I told you, the mind share is going to build. Like from the point of all these games coming out, 4 per year. That's a lot of games, and if they land, that's a lot of mind share. That's a lot of spread. If Call of Duty comes out and it's on Game Pass, that's a lot of spread. It doesn't matter it's going to fucking PlayStation, guys. It never did matter. It's gonna
War games is nothing. They said they've got 10 this year.
Bro,
10 releases
did they
this
say 10
year.
this year?
Yep.
They
And
said
that
10?
included
fuck.
Diablo, so
Well,
it's not standalone
I'm
releases,
saying-
but 10 significant.
Yeah, I took that as like some small ones and like 4 big ones, you know what I mean? But, whatever. But point is, however you look at it, Xbox has such a cadence right now that it's kind of scary to be other platforms, especially with Game Pass on it. It's like you would be completely nuts if you're like, I'm abandoning ship, Xbox is dying, so I'm gonna go get a PlayStation that gives me one fucking thing a year to just buy 4 Xbox games. And it's just like, what are you talking about? Why? Why would you do that? Why would a sane person be like, you know what? I'm going to buy a PlayStation to buy all 4 games and then buy one exclusive game a year for PlayStation. It's like, what? why don't you just fucking stay here and play it all for fucking $15 a month? I don't get it. I don't understand it. I'll never get it. But anyways, it was all bullshit. Smoke up the ass forever. And I took like people were kicking my ass all week, but yeah, it's nonsense.
Hopefully anyone who hadn't necessarily considered Xbox as a platform had seen the news fallout and had gone, oh, that's a bit of a shame. Will now sort of look at this and maybe reconsider the value proposition that Xbox has. I don't know.
Even see it, Headley. They don't even fucking see it.
No, they still need to fix the marketing and
yeah, they don't. They don't even see it, and the marketing is gonna come from word of mouth and FOMO and all that stuff. It's just gonna come naturally. It's me. I'm talking to my friends. Retailers are even going away, so you can't have the fucking shithead pony cleric at the end of the counter tell you to buy a PlayStation. All that's going away in the future. Like, it's all word of mouth and FOMO that's going to push these consoles or these platforms. And Xbox, if you look at their fucking slate, is undeniable at this point. Is pretty crazy to be like, oh no, they won't be popular in the future. Of course they will. Come on, of course they will.
So
that's
what
crazy.
I'm hearing from you there is that we can put a pause on rebranding the podcast, right? We can still be the Xbox Series podcast now and for a very long time to come.
We're swapping it to Nintendo, fuck it, because Nintendo is going to be the best place to play Game Pass in a few years, right? Yeah.
Speaking of though, so Headley, you took some notes. What specifically did they say about hardware during that little 20-minute podcast?
Hardware, let me... So,
it's pages of notes,
first of all,
flicking through.
Actually, I think I'm going to loop back to the part where Phil Spencer was talking about the growth of Xbox, because he sort of shouted out the fact that he has been with Xbox for 20 years, or over 20 years, and he is looking forward to the next 20 years of Xbox, which I think should reassure everybody that has invested in its platform that no, it is not going anywhere. Hardware isn't going anywhere. They made that very clear. The focus has been on finding new players. And well, yeah, I mean, it's a given, but it's, that's the thing that they need to keep on working towards. Hardware is important to them because it is the flagship of the Xbox brand. It is the best experience that you can have when playing on its platform, unless you are accessing the Xbox platform through PC. But it is the most sort of convenient and most affordable way to play Xbox in a way that just works and feels great to use. And then obviously the tease that Gamzly alluded to, we have a hardware reveal coming by the end of the year, which is awesome.
Which is probably
that's
Pro,
really, really
right?
exciting. I don't know. I don't know.
Or do they actually
so
just
the end of
reveal
this
the
year?
new one they were talking about, right? Yeah, they said the end of this year, December.
So what do we reckon that could be? People in chat speculate. What piece of hardware could Xbox be ready to announce towards the end of this year?
They also said something very interesting. They did say they swooped it in there really quick. They said that it will be very powerful. So they're not letting out on spec as well. Not this necessarily. I don't know if they meant this hardware reveal, but they did say in the future, this is going to be the most powerful place, blah, 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 blah. And they did drop a power line of saying this will be the strongest, whatever hardware, whatever. So you can think that as the Pro or maybe the next gen console. So we know that they're not going to give up the power narrative as some of us were touting on Twitter like 2 months ago or something. So we know they're interested in power as well, not only, handhelds.
I actually hope that it is something that allows for cloud streaming to be a little bit more accessible. So a streaming box or Project Keystone. Because I think that's a really important part of the Xbox ecosystem that currently doesn't exist. But I think that sort of that console-less way into the Xbox ecosystem and into Game Pass without having to foot either 300 quid for the Series S 250, 300 quid,
Yeah.
or 450 to 500, something like that for the Series X. I would really, really love to see a Project Keystone, which is, in this case is basically like a streaming stick with a controller.
They did.
we
So
don't
obviously
know
they
if
had
that's
Project
still on the
Keystone under the name Project Keystone, and they shelved it.
Mm.
Do you think
They did.
anything has changed significantly enough that will become a more viable product now?
Their
They shelved it
numbers,
for a reason, didn't they?
Mm.
yeah, but it seems like their numbers are way up, right? That's what Sarah Bond said. She said that the cloud numbers are like doubled. So it's kind of weird why they would shelf it.
So the
Yeah,
thing
they were
is,
struggling to get it to a viable cost, weren't they? Is why they shelved it at the time.
Mhm.
But go on, Deadly.
post
Maybe it comes
acquisition, the more Xbox's release cadence matures, and the more the Game Pass library matures, that value proposition for a low cost of entry cloud device becomes more and more appealing, to the point where the mate at work who I talked about last week, who bought a PS5 because he wanted to get back into The Last of Us, but didn't know that Starfield was something that was on the horizon, and would quite like to play it but can't. The only other way that he could currently do it right now is by Bluetoothing a controller to his MacBook or his phone. And it's fine, but it's not ideal, and it's not really the most enjoyable way. If they can square that circle and go after people who don't want to spend 500 quid on a different plastic box to the one that they already own, I think that's a really potent direction from Microsoft that they should pursue.
Yeah. Can I go with a little thingy thing? I was I don't remember if it was episode 1, but when I was predicting some things in the future, I said that I want them to be, so not go with a pro version of a model, but let PlayStation do the pro thing, and then hit them with a console, like a handheld console, like right now, like close to now, right? You
Mhm.
lead into a nice little handheld market right now, affordable, blah blah blah. It sells itself, right? Portables are hot right now, and then you really leapfrog them 1 year after and go for a an entire generation, right? You just go straight up and leapfrog the pro, and you just develop right now or 2 years ago to build something of the next generation and just start with a COD, right? So what I think is that they let Sony have their little day in the sun, right? This generation's theirs for now. You hit them with a handheld to grow awareness, because in Japan that's what you need. Maybe you have a
Mhm.
Japanese partnership in the works right now, because it seems like they do have partners coming up. They said it. Or some fun things to announce from partners. So what if that thing is like, you make the handheld to be popular and push awareness in the Japanese market, which you need leeway. We know Sony doesn't want to enter that at this moment, so you get a freebie right there, right? You get Game Pass out there, you get a affordable handheld. Japanese love to play in handhelds, and then you just let Sony have the power narrative for their pro, but then you completely leapfrog them in an entire new. You set the boundary of a new generation, and then you get your CODs and all that stuff. So I think this December they announce some sort of handheld system, whether it's cloud like you say, Headley, or
Mm.
I would just straight up Steam Deck it. I would Steam Deck it, put it at $3.99, and it does everything.
I think a handheld has to be native. It just
$3.99.
does. It is designed to be portable by its nature. It has to be native. It can't be cloud.
Yeah.
But
The chips right now are insane. The chips right
Yeah.
now for handhelds are very well like they're strong. So
Mhm.
So, going into that little podcast, we had essentially all of us had the same two things that we wanted. One of them was positive messaging and a commitment to their vision. And I think we got that. The other thing that we all said was that we didn't want it to be at all vague on what was and wasn't going to be exclusive going forwards. That kind of, we didn't really get that, did we? Because there are still going to be questions over pretty much everything that's coming, because I mean, they didn't even want to name the games that are coming. Headley, do you think it's going to be a problem for them going forwards every time they release or announce something new or are people like, was the messaging strong enough for you?
It's a really tough one to answer because I think for right now, for the short term, they've gone definitive and that's fine. But I think where things really started to sort of get quite sort of frustrating from the perspective of an observer was when Blade was revealed and there was more conversation around which platform it was going to be on than there was the fact that Xbox was going to have a Marvel game, a potentially, most likely, exclusive Marvel game. And I do think, to be fair, what they have said is that they are focused on launching big titles on Xbox. There's one line that I sort of heard Sarah Bond stumble over slightly, and I wonder if maybe she sort of misspoke slightly. I don't know. But she talked about launching the biggest games on Xbox, and that's quite a hard thing to claim because we have also seen big games come to other platforms. So it's not the only place that you can play big games. But when they talk about big games and then we look through that lens at something like Blade, yes, we know that it's more than likely going to be exclusive for Xbox, but I don't feel like they've gone fully definitive on that enough for me, and I'm worried that that's still going to be a part of the conversation. It should be exclusive. I'm not going to lose a huge amount of sleep if it's not, but at very least I would expect a significant amount of timed exclusivity on that, not day and date. They're probably never going to be able to say enough to completely eliminate that conversation of idiocy. Let's be clear on that. But
like, look. For instance, here's a Twitter post by Tom Warren. Here's the danger of not being definitive, even though we know what's happening. Okay, Tom Warren, Xbox chief Phil Spencer doesn't rule out Starfield and Indiana Jones coming to PS5. Quote, I don't think we should, as an industry, ever rule out a game going to any other platform. Full interview here. So people are still running with a narrative that these will someday come to a PlayStation. And I'm telling you right now, both fucking eyes in your face, everything is going to lead to PlayStation and Switch. They're gonna stagnate it. I'm telling you in your face, and they should have told you to. They're gonna stagnate it case to case, see what makes sense. But that's just prettying up that they will land there some point of time, and the fucking selling point is you get to play it on Game Pass day one on your Xbox, and FOMO's gonna kick in and you're gonna fucking do it. So stop being silly. All right? Put it to bed.
I'm glad that they went definitive on Starfield, and yes, you're right to call out the fact that they probably won't be able to go definitive on that forever, because what I said, I think I said it at the end of the first episode that we did, I do expect to see Starfield in the form of a 10-year anniversary on PlayStation. Yeah. I don't expect to see it on PlayStation this gen, but I wouldn't be at all surprised if they go, here's that 10-year anniversary of Starfield. You can play it on your PS5 or your PS6 or whatever, because it happened with Switch, with Skyrim. And you know what? Everybody was really happy about it because a whole new player base got to play Skyrim. Like, no one cared at that point. But right now, Starfield's exclusivity still matters to Xbox to a degree. Yes. I know it's not necessarily in the conversation as much anymore, but it's still a flagship title.
It's just like, it's a very old, very common adage that you never say never, do you? So if you're going to ask him to say never, he'd be an idiot to say it, because things can change. You remember there's an Insomniac tweet that went around in 2017 or something where they said Spider-Man's never going to any other platforms or something, and people bring it up over and over again to lambast them because it eventually went to PC. But at the time that Insomniac said it not being Insomniac's decision at all, it was true as far as they knew, but you should never say never. And Phil Spencer's not going to go out and say Starfield is never going to go to PlayStation, because the best that can come of that is one day, if it ever does, it'll bite him in the ass, because he said something that eventually wasn't true. Like, why would you say that? So people that are
by the way,
here
I'm
in
not
chat,
attacking. I'm not
Go on.
attacking everyone in chat or Asa. I'm just saying,
Arnold
just
and potato.
prepare for one day, boys and girls. That thing dropping on all platforms. It just fucking stop it. You're gonna play it day one, so it doesn't matter. You're gonna save a lot of money, and you're gonna play it for $15, and you're gonna have a great time. Anyways.
Good. So, people in chat, are you happy with what you saw there? Do you have concerns? Are you sticking with your Xboxes? I assume if you're here watching the Xbox Series podcast, you have at least a passing interest in Xbox. So, is anyone still panicking? Does anyone take what you just saw as bad news? And what we're going to do is, I think there's not that much more to extract from a podcast where they say we're carrying on and they just pat themselves on the back for 20 minutes, really, is there? So let's go on to the usual kind of have a little talk about what we've been playing. Because you mentioned just beforehand, Deadly Headley, that Go Mecha Ball is a terrible recommendation from Gamzly. Gamzly, what have you been playing?
All right. So, anyways, I didn't hear any of that. I am playing Resident Evil right now and some League. So I'm still dabbling with Persona 3 as well, because it really is a great game just to sit down, chill, play some music in the background, do a couple of days and have a couple of dates, you know. I'm still on that. Resident Evil 3, again, great game, love it. Not much to say about that. We all know what Resident Evil is. And I've been playing. Oh my god, there was one more freaking game. Must not be that important. Oh, probably, Pal World and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, Bloodstained. Go play Bloodstained. It's fun. It's a good time.
Yeah.
And
What about you, Deadly?
It's on
It is
Game Pass right now.
It is on Game Pass. It came on this month, didn't it? There's a few things that have come this month to Game Pass. Deadly Headley, what you mentioned that you played a bit of Last of Us, but Xbox podcast. What else have you been up to? So you did Go Mecha Ball. I've seen you on Baldur's Gate 3. How are you finding that?
I'm loving Baldur's Gate 3. Still loving Baldur's Gate 3. Still working my way through Act 2. I have gotten to... I'm actually not sure how to get past the bit that I'm at, but I'll figure it out. It's fine. Yeah, I'm really, really enjoying my time there. And I've been on Halo Infinite as well. This week, 343 added 5 big team battle maps into the current playlist rotation. So big team's playlist is now a lot more diverse, which is quite nice. One of those, if you're an OG Halo 2 fan, is Headlong, which I absolutely loved playing that on Big Team Battle. I miss playing Big Team Battle with friends though. It's
Sundays,
I find that game mode
Sundays.
is really something. Yeah, I don't think I'm around this weekend. To be fair, I actually don't think I'm around this weekend. But
So we
if
have,
that changes, I'll give it a shot.
In our regular rotation of games, the gaming arcade community play games on a Sunday regularly, other days as well, but the Sundays is fixed in place. And 2 games that come up very regularly have had updates this week. One of them is Halo Infinite. And I'm really glad that the Big Team Battle in particular has got new maps, because that's where I spend most of my time on Halo's multiplayer. And for the longest time, I'm not a big Halo Infinite player, so I could be wrong, but for the longest time, Big Team Battle had 3 maps that I could very clearly rate as the good one, the okay one, and the shit one. And that was it for ages. So for there to be 5 new ones, that restores a lot of hope and faith for me to actually go back into it and feel like I'm going to more consistently have a good time on it. And the other one is Forza Motorsport.
Headlong is great as well. Cool.
Forza Motorsport has had the Nürburgring is in there now, which I said really quickly in case I say it wrong, because that would be very embarrassing. And some new cars and things. So that comes up pretty much every Sunday at the moment, and we cannot wait to race around it. Have you got any plans? Do you play Forza Motorsport, Deadly Headley?
I actually don't. I'm sorry, mate.
Oh, Jesus
Get on
Christ.
it for the Sunday specifically. I don't like Forza Motorsport apart from...
Put down that Last of Us, goddammit.
I do like Horizon. I do like Forza Horizon, but yeah,
generally I would prefer Horizon, but what Forza Motorsport really has going for it, and this is it's such a small, it should be a small detail, but it's such a strength. It is so easy to organize multiplayer games and just go and race. And Horizon is actually a little bit more convoluted in that sense, in the way that it does its convoys and things like that. But Forza, you just set up a track, set up the cars that people can choose. You go bang, invite everyone and go. So it comes up over and over again on the Sundays because it's simplistic. And obviously being on Game Pass, so many people have access to it. We've got people that play on the Xbox, people that play on the PC, and even people that play at cloud streams just so they can join in.
And even
that's fantastic. Not yet.
Sorry.
Not yet.
That's funny.
So I've been playing both of those. I want to talk about another game that I've been playing because it has to come up. It's important.
No.
Gamzly knows. I've persevered and tried really, really hard. We've already discussed Go Mechable. So week 1 of this podcast, Gamzly recommended Go Mechable and Brotato. I played Go Mechable, I didn't like it. I played Brotato and I persevered. I have tried because there's a lot of people on Gamzly's side on this one that tell me Brotato is really good. I have never played a less eventful game in my life. And I've played Tetris, right? Tetris is just the same thing happens until it ends. But at least on Tetris, you know, it's like you've got impending doom. Brotato, you just run around a brown square until it says, all right, that's the end of that then. Why do you like this game? I don't understand. I tried and I tried and I tried. It takes ages and it's boring.
I'm sorry, are you talking? Are you talking? Sorry.
Deadly Headley, have you tried Potato yet? I want to know what side of this one you fall on. Please try it.
I haven't tried Potato. I'm gonna try it tonight, and we'll go definitive next week.
Perfect.
And then we can pick different games to just argue over, and that can be our thing going forward. We'll take Gamzly's bad takes, Asa's good takes, and then we'll just see where I land.
Have you tried? So week 2, Gamzly recommended Anacard. Have you had the pleasure of trying Anacard?
I haven't played Anacard either, no.
I'll spare you on that one. Don't even bother.
No. Okay.
Oh, Gamzly.
You know what? Okay. Yeah. I'm done.
No, you're not. Gamzly, you come back and you give us this week's recommendation for Game Pass. Because this one I've got more confidence
Resident Evil
in.
Fucking 2, all right? Resident Evil 2, you can't fuck with me on that one, all right? Let's take the safe bet. Go play Resident Evil 2, and then play Resident Evil 3, and then go play Brotato, because Asa sucks, all right? Just do that. Don't listen to these two.
That's a good reason to do anything.
Play Brotato. But... I did really like Vampire Survivors, so...
I quite like Vampire Survivors. That's a good game. Plenty happens in Vampire Survivors.
Whatever. Next.
I don't know what's next. That's what I wanted to talk about. What else have I played? I played some other things.
Did we touch on the 34 million drop?
What's 34 million?
No, what was said?
Oh, they said that they grew. Well, in the podcast, they said that Game Pass is past 34 million players.
That's fantastic. That's great.
Did we not touch on that? Did we miss that?
I missed
That's
it.
good.
Yeah, no, I did miss that.
Do you know what? If
that's like a 10 million plus gap from the last time they reported numbers.
Yeah, if that wasn't packaged with the commitment, if we had had that, like it had come from like a fiscal quarterly update or something boring like that, and it said it's at 34 million, I would say that was like a concerning lack of growth, because I know that that's well below the targets that they've consistently had year on year. And then if I just got that number, I would be saying, oh, maybe they might be getting cold feet on this if it doesn't grow faster soon, because we know they want it to grow more than that. But they've given that number packaged alongside a commitment to carrying it on for the foreseeable future, alongside a commitment to keep delivering games day one and to keep the Game Pass service going as is. No mention of shifting prices or introducing adverts or all of these other things that people were speculating on. So you can just take it for what it is and say that's 34 million people with access to a lot of games.
I think it's important to sort of also caveat that by acknowledging the studios that Xbox has acquired are going to turn on the content tap like crazy, and when Game Pass then sort of becomes much more of a much richer and much more kind of, it's already a very diverse platform, to be fair, but like it's only going to get fed with more content. Like I talked last week, and again, shout out to Gaz from GameOn Daily. His frustrations about not being able to see Xbox pursue the strategy that we thought they were pursuing, but it turns out they are pursuing the strategy that we thought they were pursuing, which is great because we do get to see them go Super Saiyan mode, and maybe they'll win the cardboard trophy, maybe they won't. The point is we don't really need to worry about the cardboard trophy. We just need to see Xbox do well and continue doing well and see it grow, because that is good and healthy for a platform where we enjoy playing our video games. I think growth is going to come when the content pipeline increases, and I think, I don't know, I kind of stand by the whole sort of, I know I can't remember who said it in chat. Someone made a really good point about the Wi-Fi controller. Star Traffic talked about the Wi-Fi controller in chat. I still really want to see that happen, because I do think that something like that, I don't know how much Stadia sold for actually to set up, but I think if that's positioned well, maybe it's positioned with, I think Call of Duty is a bit of a gamble to try and market that with, because latency scenarios are going to be different for every household, and it's going to be really, really difficult to guarantee a solid multiplayer experience on well, actually, Asa, have you played anything that you would consider like competitive or fast-paced on something like GeForce Now?
Yes, GeForce Now is leaps and bounds ahead of the Xbox Cloud offering at the moment, and you can play pretty much anything on there. You can play Doom Eternal, and you'll feel it ever so slightly, but you're talking like 1 or 2 frames of latency there. It's phenomenal, and if Microsoft can harness whatever the hell it is, magic that Nvidia are using, then cloud gaming will very quickly become a lot more viable than people expect. Pixel Slapper said in chat that the Game Pass numbers, I don't remember the quote exactly, but they may include the converted Xbox Live Gold subscriptions to bolster the numbers up from where it was.
A very good point.
If they haven't specifically said that they're not doing that, then you can safely assume that they are doing that, which I would actually say makes the numbers like quite underwhelming in terms of growth, quite surprisingly slow in terms of growth. But like I say, they've packaged it with a commitment to keep on doing it. So I will take that entirely positive, because I keep getting what I want out of it.
Here's a question. It takes, so let's say Call of Duty goes to Game Pass. Let's say they commit 2 Call of Duties to Game Pass. Do we think that moves numbers heavily?
I mean, it has to a degree, but it's been consistently surprising how little it moves in the past, though. Because like to us and to everybody that we talk to in this community, you would think everybody that has a vague sniff of an interest in gaming would want to get Game Pass, because it offers incredible value and there are so many good games on there. So I'm consistently surprised by the fact that it's not more successful already. And for that reason, I wouldn't want to attribute massive numbers to Call of Duty, because I already don't understand why everybody doesn't have Game Pass.
Well, the reason is because there's nothing as big as Call of Duty on Game Pass right now. Nothing. There is with, let's say, the car game, but let's not add that there. Let's not do Forza. I mean, Forza did move a lot of numbers, but
size-wise, Forza's never touched Call of Duty. Like racing sim-ish isn't huge.
Call of Duty, that is played by fucking millions. You think I truly think 2 Call of Duty, it's gonna take 2 Call of Duties, right? It's gonna take 2 Call of Duties. They're gonna fucking market the shit out of that everywhere. If I had to guess, because that's what I would do. I would market that shit everywhere. It's gonna show up on your PlayStation. It's gonna show up on your PC. It's gonna show up on Steam. Game Pass PC is probably gonna, just PC is gonna shoot up exponentially.
Do you know what they're gonna have to do? Call of Duty specifically, when they're putting that in Game Pass, they're gonna have to make it really clear that everybody knows that if you play it on Game Pass, if you go the Xbox route, you can still play with all of your friends on PlayStation.
Yeah,
Because
but
the
that's
main thing
point.
that
That's why
keeps
they brought up
you
crossplay.
can do it. Yeah, I know, I do, but that message needs to go to a normal PlayStation fan. That if you get it over here for free, you are still playing with. Well, it's not so far. Messaging to people that aren't interested in your ecosystem is difficult. If they can get that message across that it's safe and you're still part of your comfort zone, then it can shift people over.
There still hasn't been a game that there still hasn't been a game like Call of Duty to do that though. Still to this day, there's nothing. There's nothing like it. So if people start to understand, that's what I was talking about. Mindshare and a slow burn is that it'll take 2 Call of Duties, but on that second Call of Duty, when the second Call of Duty hits, people are going to be like, "Oh shit, where are you playing, Tom?" Well, I'm playing it on Game Pass because why wouldn't I? And then they're going to be like, "Ah, I see." You get it? They might not buy the third or the second Call of Duty on PlayStation anymore. They might take that step to their secondary platform, and that's the point.
Go one step further than that and suggest that someone might also have to consider that the next time they buy an Xbox is the next time they think about buying a console. Because let's be honest, most of those casuals, they're not going to buy if they wouldn't be casuals if they bought both consoles. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. No, I get that. But again, 2 Call of Duties in, you're still
Yes, that's what I'm saying. 2 Call of Duties in and another console generation, or going into the next console generation.
That's
especially
what I'm
if Xbox does go early, and Xbox goes early with that messaging of, how you buy Call of Duty every year. How would you like to not buy Call of Duty but still play with all of your mates and play Call of Duty? Here's this brand new Xbox. The next generation starts now. Go buy it.
Yeah, that's a hard message to pass off.
Yeah.
That's a hard message to just be like, yeah, let's ignore that. But Avowed is an easy kind of message to ignore, and the other ones are easier messages to ignore. But something that you're tribally playing with your friends all the time, that's a harder one. Especially this one. This one's a weird, special type of scenario, But we'll see. I see clear victory. And maybe I'm fucking completely... You could clip me out, but I see clear gain in the future with Call of Duty, but we'll see.
The flip side of it is with Game Pass struggling to grow or whatever else, Microsoft have, I would say, broadly cooled their jets a little bit on Game Pass and are embracing other revenue streams as hard as they can. So if you are running Xbox at the moment and you've got Call of Duty on PlayStation and they are buying it and buying transactions, you've got this kind of the Call of Duty gamer that just buys Call of Duty every year. If they are buying Call of Duty, then that's still not a bad situation for Microsoft to be in, is it? They're still making a bunch of money out of that.
Not at all. Yeah. Which just feeds it, but same thing. It just feeds the machine, right? You buy it, okay, you're still feeding Microsoft, you're still getting mindshare, you're still seeing that logo pop up all the time, you're still doing that thing. And the harder it is to convince people to jump from somewhere they are with the Game Pass to PlayStation is what I'm trying to say. It's it won't happen vice versa, but it has a lot of potential to happen the other way. Either double dipping or switching completely, or buying a new generation console from an Xbox One or a PlayStation 4. It'll be easy to say, well, shit, I bought the PlayStation 4 for Call of Duty. Now I'm going to buy an Xbox S for Game Pass because of Call of Duty.
Yeah. I think the Series S potentially comes in very clutch this year, actually, because if Microsoft have said we've got... Well, let's take the handheld out of the equation because we know that currently doesn't exist. If we talk about the next sort of 12 to 18 months, and Xbox has said, we've got 10 games coming this year. Most of them you know about, a few of them you don't. Or words to that effect. I can't remember the exact quote, so I don't want to try and sort of butcher it, put words in their mouths. But if they can get that messaging right, they can get that value proposition right, and they can go, by the way, not to sort of drag us into the real world, but the UK officially entered a recession today. It's probably a small one, but a recession is still a recession. if you really, really like playing video games and you don't like spending a lot of money on video games, which, being brutally honest, is the reason why I love Game Pass so much, because I don't have the money to go and buy video games all the time. I just don't. Like, my mortgage is about to go up, and I'm not looking forward to that. I like Game Pass because it allows me to enjoy shit for very little money in exchange. If they can get their content pipeline turned up and just double down on the value proposition of the Xbox Series S and Game Pass, potentially they're going to have a good year as far as growth goes. It's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out. Yeah. And hopefully the fire that we have seen in the media, because it's put a spotlight on Xbox for what we thought were the wrong reasons. And actually, when everybody's looking at Xbox, they've gone,
yeah, this
is fine. I think that's quite good for them.
Yeah. You're getting a lot of use out of that sign. I'm glad.
I'm getting a lot of use out of that sign.
It takes a long time to colour in characters like that. It's a long time. So we talked about Call of Duty a lot in terms of where people are going to play it, how it's going to sway the fate of Xbox or whatever else. Let's talk about the more interesting aspects of Call of Duty, which is Call of Duty as a game. Gamzly, do you like Call of Duty games?
I play it. I play it with my brother. He makes me buy it all the time, and I'm lapsed. Like, I'm one of those people that come back sometimes. So every 2 years I come back, but every 2 years my brother keeps, like, every year my brother's trying to get me in, right? So I do play. Do I truly enjoy the game itself? I'm very bad at it, so not as much as I could. But also, I love the time I play with my brother, so it's a bonding thing. It's like that cult classic buy NHL every year type of feel, and I like that feeling.
What about you, Deadly? Did you like Call of Duty games?
I don't like the multiplayer. The multiplayer stresses me out because the time to kill is just way too short for my liking. But I do enjoy the campaigns. But like I said last week, I don't enjoy them enough to warrant spending 70 quid on them. But there's two. So I haven't played Modern Warfare 2, but I do really want to. And obviously I haven't played Modern Warfare 3 either. I loved the reboot of Modern Warfare 1. I thought the campaign on that was great. And Black Ops Cold War, I thought that was sick. I really, really enjoyed the campaign on that as well. So when it does come to Game Pass, I'm really excited to pick up the campaign for Modern Warfare 2. That's where I'm at with Call of Duty. I used to play it a fair bit when I was younger, but I don't know. I'm a Halo guy. I prefer the time to kill on that. And I don't know, Call of Duty stresses me out.
Excuse me. I don't touch Call of Duty, or very often touch military shooters because the camouflage is sufficient to fool my stupid brain. And I run around in Call of Duty and someone pops out and I spend a few seconds going, are you on my team or do I need to shoot you? And then I'm dead. Yeah. So I play Halo where I can make my enemies bright green. And if bright green appears in front of me, I shoot it. Which is how I play my shooters since Quake 3 Arena. Call of Duty games are not remotely for me. When they all drop into Game Pass, I want to blast through the campaigns, but they're renowned for being between 4 and 6 hours throughout. I know the last one was supposed to be particularly short, but they've always been brief, cinematic, like bang, bang, bang experiences. And knowing that I'm not going to enjoy the multiplayer, they've never been worth like buying for me. But stick those on Game Pass, I will blast through the campaigns and hopefully enjoy them and forever ignore the multiplayer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of like Diablo, do we think it gets a second life there? I think so.
It's going to get a bit of a second wind because it's obviously coming alongside a content update as well. And on the PC side, you're getting this ray tracing update. They're trying to tweak and fix it. I was ultimately quite disappointed by Diablo 4 because I really enjoyed Diablo 3 and put a lot of hours into it, made a lot of characters and enjoyed building them. Diablo 4 fell short in a lot of ways, despite doing a lot of things very well. It's very pretty and it tells its story very well. There's a lot of content in there. But a lot about the structure and the monetization and all the rest of it was quite off-putting. When they drop it into Game Pass, it's inevitable that anybody that has a sniff of an interest and hasn't tried it yet is going to give it a try. So it will get a boost of players. It will get a boost in numbers. What were your thoughts on Diablo, Deadly Head? Did you actually? I know you said earlier, but it slipped out of one ear. So
I liked it. I played through the campaign. I dropped off of the like the end game pretty quick, and then I sort of jumped back on for season 2. Did it launch with season 1, or did season 1 happen after? So I can't remember. The
season
first
1 started
proper
shortly
sort of
after launch. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I ended up sort of starting a new character there as a rogue, because I tell you what, I actually haven't been a Diablo player before. I remember playing Diablo 3 once on couch co-op with a mate, and I really enjoyed it. And I actually did like Diablo 4 a lot. I had a good time. It took me a little while to sort of figure out how to really like dial the build in, and sort of I remember hearing everybody who talked about playing Diablo seemed to need a helping hand from somebody else if they hadn't played a Diablo game before, to really figure out how to get a build working in harmony and that sort of thing. And I'm probably going to have to relearn some stuff if I get back to it. Yeah, I didn't dislike it at all. I actually really enjoyed it. Yeah, maybe getting back on it with a party again. Maybe we do some more community nights here, because actually, what's quite nice is the difficulty balancing is very, very forgiving, isn't it? You can have like a level 2 player and a level 20 player, and the experience
It scales everything. Yeah, it's very weird.
is fine. Yeah, it's great. So,
and Gamzly, you weren't a
Good.
massive fan of 4, were you?
Diablo 4? Yeah, well, I always beat Diablo games. Like, I always go through the campaign and do that because the world is crazy awesome. Sanctuary as a world is crazy cool. So I love experiencing the story. The grind, I would have a lot more fun if I cared about loot grind. It's just loot grind in all games now has turned me off because I've done so much of it, and I realize how pointless it is. But I heavily enjoyed the story and what I played of it. I'm kind of sad that it doesn't have the mechanics that I wish it had. Like, I wish it did feel more like the old Diablo games. But you know, those games used to be real, like, like, you could really go into their stats back then and make a character completely different than the other. And today's customization is very linear and very simplistic, and I freaking can't stand it, and I hate it, and I don't like that just gear matters. Like, if I want a paladin and I want it to have stamina and run around with a spear, I should be able to do that. You know? Like, I want to be able to do that, and today's customization in all these fucking games doesn't let me do that. Just let me do that, and every game will be better. Let me put stamina builds on paladins. It's fine. You know, it's not gonna fucking harm you. So yeah, that's a long way of saying I enjoyed it, but I won't stay long term.
Pull your microphone a little bit closer. A few people have said that I need to turn you up a bit, but I can't. So just pull your microphone a little bit closer.
How about now?
Yeah, seems good. Seems good. So much like you, I didn't enjoy the way that you can build your character up in 4. That was one of the biggest turn-offs for me, in that I had a sorcerer. I played a lot of Diablo 3, and I could build my characters, and every time you leveled up, it gave you interesting choices in how you built that character. And it was based less so on an overall core theme, more so on whether something sounded fun or not. And I'd play it with my family, and I'd tell them, whenever they got a set of skills, and they were like, which one's the best? I said, well, look at the one that sounds most fun to you and give it a try. If it doesn't work out, then try a different one. I do not get that feeling from 4 at all. Everything's like, well, you've chosen to be fire, so you have to pick the fire iteration of the skill. And there are very limited choices within it compared to what 3 had. But also, more importantly, you can't roll. The console versions of Diablo 3 let you roll by flicking the right analog stick in any direction, and it just made it so much more dynamic, moment to moment, to be rolling around to dodge things. They took it away from me for 4, and I have never forgiven that slight. I want to roll everywhere.
You could dash in 4.
You could dash with the button on like a 5-second cooldown, and
did the roll not have a
get it
cooldown?
twice. The roll was you could roll through anything. There were pots and breakables, and you smash them. Nice. There was you even if you rolled through enough breakables, you got a running speed boost. So you were encouraged to just roll through all of the pots and crockery that were around the scenes, just smash, 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 and it was fun and dynamic. And they took it away. I don't understand why they took it away. Well, I do, but it was a shame.
They tried to me. It smells to me like they tried to. Like games today, it seems like they take away features to kind of make something look or feel better. Like they try to, let's say, take away the roll so that a certain item might feel better, and you need a certain item for a teleport or a whatever. And it's just so lame to me. But anyways,
so that's how it feels to me. Like it's slightly interesting because the PC version of Diablo 3 didn't let you roll. They did for Diablo 3. The PC version came out a year before the console version, and the roll was to compensate for the fact that with the controller you can't aim as precisely. So they made it more dynamic to make it feel more like a console game. Diablo 4 is entirely cross-platform, came out at the same time, and you have a lot of flexibility on which control scheme you use. So it's more to do with them making it consistent, but they went in the wrong direction by taking away my roll. I need my damn roll. So if anyone wants to sign my petition,
run around, Asa.
Blizzard have been ignoring my letters. Yeah. What else have we got? What else have we got?
I just need RPGs to stick with stat increases like Baldur's Gate. Okay? Just stick with like attributes per level where I could put my stat wherever the fuck I want. You know? Just let me do that. That's why Baldur's Gate is so great. It lets you do anything you freaking want, and it matters. Everything matters. Diablo, go back to that. Diablo, when you could take your attribute and put it wherever the fuck you want and build whatever you wanted, it mattered.
Yeah, but after
it matters.
the
Same with
Same
with World of Warcraft, by the way. World of Warcraft was almost the same way, okay? And it got way more boring when the same builds are running around because of meta, and I don't know. Anyway, just me.
Well, I think we should probably move on to the questions and round off the show. We didn't have a particularly set running time for this one, which makes it a little unusual because we didn't know how long the Xbox podcast was going to be. But if you have stuck any community questions in there may still be time to stick some more in. We're going to get through a few of those, and then we'll round off and call it a day for this one. Our first question, I've lost my mouse, is from Porky Soda. They mentioned hardware announcements in holiday 2024. What could it be? So we had a little bit of a discussion on that one already, but does anyone want to add anything to it? Has anyone had an epiphany since we discussed it? What are they going to announce holiday 2024 hardware-wise? We're so overdue a controller refresh, and we've seen designs for the controller, and Phil Spencer's talked, like, it's probably been years now since he talks about the haptics that they want to bring in. I'm not sure if you can sit there on a podcast and say we're announcing new hardware and then it turned out to be a controller, but they do speak in those terms. So
realistically, it's that circular Xbox Series X with no hard drive, right? Realistically, it's like a little refresh of the Series X. That's what probably is going to happen. My heart wants a handheld, but I think they do that next year. Yeah. Handheld is my heart, but refresh is probably the reality, and they're going to cut the gen in half.
I think they cancelled the refresh. I think the refresh would look very underwhelming next to a PlayStation 5 Pro.
I tend to agree.
Yeah. What about you, Deadly? Got anything else to add on that one?
No, I think my gut feeling is actually leaning towards that kind of Wi-Fi controller that we saw come out as part of the leaks. I don't really see much of a point in a refreshed Xbox Series X if they're not going to beef up the specs in that and turn it into a Pro. And it feels unlikely that's happening, but we don't know. It could be that actually they've decided that that's quite a good route to pursue, but then Phil Spencer has really talked about like the Xbox Series X being considered the Pro model internally, which I don't know. How much thought do you put into that, Asa? Because I
absolutely
felt
zero.
like it was
None
a bit
at
of
all.
a cop out.
Yeah. No, not at all.
Mm.
But so I always say about Xbox, they've because their back compat and their forwards compatibility as well is so well established now that they have, from my mind, more or less shifted away from the generational model, and they can release hardware whenever they want without the traditional like new console iterations in the past were really, really difficult because they meant taking your nice established like 30, 50, 100 million audience and resetting it to zero to release a new piece of hardware. Microsoft have been the most effective in moving away from that. So they can release a new piece of hardware whenever they want without really disrupting the established audience. And they don't have that problem. PlayStation almost in the same place, but haven't done it as effectively.
Phil alluded to. Yeah, that was something that Phil alluded to when he talked about how he really likes how Windows helps people sort of preserve everything that they have, and that is actually kind of the vision that he has for Xbox. I think that's great because it really does sort of. That was actually the second W that you caught, Asa. You were very, very firm on going. Your digital libraries aren't going anywhere. It's probably the safest one you've got because it's Microsoft. And it sounds like Phil is coming from exactly the same corner that you were.
Yeah, they definitely did try and ease concerns on that one as well, didn't they? I don't want to be awarded any W's because I get frustrated by the people that throw shit at the wall and then try and claim victory afterwards. That's not me. I'm not throwing shit at the wall. I play very safe bets.
I claim victory. I will claim victory all day. Fuck that shit. I'll take his W's. I said the exact same shit, so I'll take it. I don't care. But,
someone's got to, right?
I love that our chat has gone straight into toasters and appliances, microwaves, and things like that as the bit of hardware as well.
Asa, I think this podcast thinks in I think it's, let's say, easy to get the W, I guess, in quotes, because this panel is just steady-headed people. I think Headley, you're steady. Asa, you're steady. We like games. We don't try to claim. We don't try to go into the console war stuff. We're just trying to think level-headed, and that's what the signs point to. It's just like, calm down. It would make zero sense for the things to happen like you think it's going to happen. So anyways, no W's, just common sense.
FTW has asked, will certain content creators take an L or say that they made this happen?
Oh,
I don't want to get right in the mud and name names and call people out for it. It's unnecessary because their names are on their tweets.
Shots fired.
Yo, for sure, even people that we like in our circles, right? Even podcasts that we truly do respect, there's some people on every panel that has said bullshit like this, right? Like, we know. So they're talking with their emotions because they truly do care about Xbox, and they truly did think bad things were gonna happen. But you love something,
The content creators that are really going to have a good time are the dudes like Alex and Frit, who just don't have any loyalty to any one brand and will just go, you guys look really stupid last week.
Yeah.
I
can't imagine some of these spaces coming up. There's just gonna be a fucking rap battle.
Ultimately all of the content around it, and I include us, right? It's not that important. We're having fun with it, we're talking about it, but what everybody ultimately gets out of it isn't even the marketing cycles, it's the games that come out at the end of the day. And all we really want is good games to come out at the end of the day. So no harm, no foul in that sense, right?
For those who, because my ecosystem that I play my games in does matter to me. Of course it does, because I don't want to see it go anywhere. I don't want to see it take on some sort of action that is going to end up with its detriment at the end of the line. I want it to do well, and I want it to keep being competitive, and I want it to keep feeding my need for entertainment with good shit, because Xbox has done a really good job of doing that. So, really the best thing that's come out of all of this is it's fine. the platform that we currently enjoy isn't going to dramatically change or shift in a way that negatively impacts its users. It's good,
So,
because we kind of thought it could go the opposite way.
The question to underscore it, like a lot of that podcast was clearly aware and responsive to stuff that had been said around the community. Like they did very directly address things. But do you think there's any whiff or sniff of a chance that anything has been changed remotely by the whining that's been going on? Do you think there's a parallel universe where the community stayed quiet and we got a different kind of podcast where there were any other announcements besides what we got?
That's a really good question. My gut feeling is that if $1 trillion Microsoft really wanted to just go, no, we're going to make money this way, I'm not really sure how much a vocal fan base could do to stop it to a degree. But I don't know. I kind of, more than anything else, honestly, this has kind of just made me want to understand where that smoke has come from, because there was a hell of a lot of it. But clearly, I don't know. What are your thoughts, Asa?
I don't think a thing would have changed. Besides the direct addressing of people's concerns, I don't think the strategy has shifted even an inch as a result of that feedback. I'm sure a lot of people are going to claim that they're the heroes and they've changed everything. I really don't believe that. What about you, Gamzly?
I don't want to speak. I'm scared of myself.
Audio listeners, we massively appreciate you, but you really do need to see Gamzly's face in these, because it just paints 1,000 words.
Yeah, look, and everybody, again, I'm gonna reiterate, it's good that you speak openly and you show that you don't want something to happen. But if you're, again, in those spaces telling people they're fucking idiots and the world's burning and Xbox sucks and the leadership is shit and all of this around in a circle, they're not listening to you. And that's exactly the people that are claiming victory right now, and you're fucking wrong. So go grab a tea or milk tea. Asa likes milk tea. Sit down, rock yourself to sleep, wake up and realize there's still games out there to play. Go play them and then fuck off. All right?
That poor bastard.
Just to add to that really quickly,
and all his games.
it doesn't need to be the kind of tea that I like, because none of those people are invited in my house. Next question, please.
I'm sorry. I made a swear. I couldn't stop at one point. I just had to go.
Pete has asked, ignore this if it's already been addressed, but you asked a Discord question about crossplay. Seems even more relevant after the Xcast. So that we were actually going to try and get to that one. It was mentioned. I can't remember the question though. What was the question about crossplay? We had it on the Discord forum, and we meant to get it last week, but we missed it.
Which one? Say that again.
From Pete.
Crossplay. Oh, yes. Pete asks, what does the panel think of the state of crossplay? Why do some developers and publishers still ignore it? Is there anything to be done to promote and encourage more implementations? That's what he asked.
So, I adore crossplay. It makes life easier for everybody to, especially when we're doing like our Arcadia community nights and things like that, to be able to say, here is a game, we're playing it, and you can join us from any platform is such a powerful thing. Makes a massive difference, especially as well when you've got like kids that very often only do have the one console, unless they're real like spoiled. To be able to not have to like worry about coordinating things so they've got the same console as their friends, and just know that they're not going to be socially excluded because they're playing on a different platform. Cross-platform is a brilliant thing that I'm very glad, and you can credit Phil massively for this, because it was an Xbox drive to make it happen. Epic definitely threw their weight around as well.
Really did. Epic,
but in terms of why it's not everywhere, you can definitely point some fingers at Sony. Now, necessarily blame Sony for their approach to it, but they do make it more difficult. They're in a self-preservation mode. Crossplay isn't in Sony's best interest in all circumstances because they've got that dominant position in the market. But they're also a very cautious company, and they've got lots of policies in place to make sure that crossplay doesn't take revenue away from them. But those policies that they have are an admin overhead for anybody that wants crossplay. So I don't know if you've seen the contract that leaked around it, but if you are implementing crossplay with Sony, you need to track an awful lot of data on where your players are playing and where they're spending money. And if they're playing on PlayStation but spending money on a different platform, then you need to calculate how much money you owe Sony. And that kind of overhead is not practical for smaller companies. So I don't think Sony are necessarily being evil in that sense. It's self-preservation, and they're trying to stop the rug from being pulled from under them in a way that is real. Like, you could potentially have a cross-platform game where loads of people are playing on PlayStation, but you can buy the currency cheaper if you just fire up your mobile. They're protecting themselves from that scenario, which is fair, but they need to do more to make crossplay real and readily available in every game, because it is outright very clearly better for the people playing the games. And you'd like to think that we matter in that scenario. Anything else on that one from either of you?
Want to go first?
I quite like the fact that Discord has joined the party recently as well, just to make crossplay that bit easier, because I think my gripe with crossplay has always been in-game lobbies because they're shit. So having something that feels better than a native party, actually, if I'm being brutally honest, because it's something that I think both platforms need to work on. But Discord really getting behind crossplay, I think, is a massive positive for the industry. So yeah, with you on that one.
So hopefully that answers that one, Pete. Sorry we missed it last week. Go on, Gamzly.
No. You guys know where I stand. Crossplay is very powerful for what Xbox wants to do, and I've said it multiple times and why I think that is. Cross-platform play and cross-save, thumbs up if I had one. Do it for me, Headley. Do it. Put a thumbs up. Thank you. There you go.
Where's my camera?
I was showing off. We did too. That's brutal. Sorry, Gamzly. Right, let's have the next question, please. Tony. Oh no, it's a Tony question. Right. Oh no, I love it. Thank you, Tony. Question is, why is Gamzly bad at games? His record on League of Legends is 7 wins and 25 losses. I'm confused as to why he says he's good. I still record it. I mean, support him. So, Gamzly, is it the pressure of being watched by Tony? Like, what's happening?
Listen, I feel no pressure being watched from Tony. You can fucking watch me all you want, you creep. Okay, first off, you don't get to a rank I am by being bad. All right, Tony? Sit down, and 7 to 25 is a lie, and you know it, and I love you, and I hate you. Keep watching me.
So for those that don't know, we have Gaming Arcadia is obviously a YouTube channel, but it's a Discord community as well, and there are streaming channels in there. A bunch of people are playing games and chatting and having a bit of fun. That question is derived from some good times that Tony has had watching Gamzly lose. Next question, please.
Watching me all the time.
Always watching. Long question from Darge. See chat. I'm looking at the chat. I think it's here we go. So, hope you boys are all good. I'd like to know your personal opinions on exclusive content for ecosystems being a big deal now that the landscape of gaming is changing. I personally believe some ecosystems should have some IP exclusive just to get their ecosystems like Forza, Halo, Gears of War, God of War, Last of Us. Where do you stand? So where do you stand on exclusives is broadly the question. Do you think that they should still be a thing going forwards? Are they important?
They are really important. Gamzly, do you want to go first? I don't mind.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I do believe that exclusives are important because I think if let's think about Xbox's model and compare it to something like, I don't know, Disney Plus, Netflix, Amazon, etc. They all have exclusive content that you can't find anywhere else, and that's the reason why you end up having to buy into all of them. Ultimately, that's the kind of approach that Xbox will keep taking because you need to have those content drivers that bring users into the platform and keep them there. Earlier this week, I actually ran a poll about whether or not Halo Infinite's multiplayer should remain exclusive or not. And I think that's quite an interesting discussion because I sort of sit somewhere in the middle where I really value Halo as an IP, both its multiplayer and its single player components. But I wonder how Halo could benefit from being its multiplayer specifically, not its story content, could benefit from going onto another platform. And I asked that poll on Twitter, and I think the poll has since ended because I set it to end just as the show went live. But for a long time, it was it's almost the cursed Brexit ratio. It's 47%, yeah, I'm okay with that. 53%, yeah, I'm uncomfortable with it. Or no, I'm uncomfortable with it. Which honestly is a lot more balanced than I thought it was going to be. I thought a hell of a lot of people would go, no, I don't want Halo in any shape or form going to any other platform ever. And I completely understand that position because there is a huge part of me that still sits in that fence. But I wonder if going forward, multiplayer exclusivity is something that should change. I think Helldivers 2 is quite an interesting conversation to have because right now it's exclusive to PlayStation from a console standpoint, but it's also on PC. It's doing really, really well on PC, and I think it's doing fairly well on PlayStation as well. I haven't seen numbers, I'm not sure. I'd quite like to see that come to Xbox at some point. And I have a PS5. I could go and buy it there. Annoyingly, I have to also go and sign up for PS Plus, which I don't really want to do. And I don't have a PC, so there's not really a lot that I could do about that. The only other option that I've got is play it on GeForce Now and buy it through Steam, but that also sort of seems more trouble than it's worth. But I'd love to see Helldivers 2 come to Xbox at some point, and because it's a live service game, or it has, it's a multiplayer game with a monetization component, I think that PlayStation's studios would benefit quite greatly from having another audience that could pay into that.
Generally, though, so what you said there is very much backed up by what we've heard from Microsoft today and what we know Sony's strategy is. Yes, exclusives are important from the platform holder's perspective. But you also mentioned that from our perspective, when you look at like Netflix and Disney and all the rest of it, ultimately what we get out of it is we as consumers need to get multiple services, multiple platforms if we want to access all the content that we want. Are there any benefits to us as consumers for games being exclusive to a platform? Or would we be better off if everything was everywhere?
Other than having a reason for your platform to grow, which is a very, very important one, because I think that was really the big fear about Xbox supposedly going full third party, right? Its user base will just dwindle over time, like Sega did, or Microsoft would take the position of, oh, we might as well not make consoles anymore because not enough people are buying them and we put our games everywhere, so fuck it, let's just cut that arm off and see what happens. And I'm glad that we know for a fact that that isn't happening, but that was a very real conversation to have, and I understand why people lost their shit momentarily on Twitter, even if it was completely pointless. I'm glad it was completely pointless because it wouldn't have been a nice situation to see. I think my position on Xbox exclusivity is that single player IP should always remain exclusive. I personally feel okay with multiplayer going third party, but then also, how often do I play Halo Infinite's campaign versus its multiplayer? Is it wise for that to happen? Well, probably not. From a consumer perspective, great for everybody. For Xbox as a brand, not great.
But if those PlayStation games were on Xbox, you would have saved yourself 500 quid though, wouldn't you? Or 400, whatever it costs.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. Gamzly, what are your thoughts on exclusives from the consumer perspective more so?
Oh man. Okay, well, this is a double layered. I'm going to touch up on what Headley said. Okay, so if there's you need some sort of exclusive reason to get a platform in the first place.
Yep.
So to get a platform in the first place and get, if you like their way, it's like Android and Apple, if you like this operating system, how easy it is to navigate, blah, blah, blah. And then you have exclusive features, and then that's what kind of drives you in. I'm not sure which one actually drives in the most. Is it the operating system, moving around, ease of use that drives you in more, or is it the exclusive features that they kind of try to sell you? So there, I'm a little hazy. I'm not quite sure where I stand by it. So in Xbox's case, is it really or PlayStation and Xbox, all of them, is it really the game exclusives that drive you to the platform, or is it the feel and ease of use and like what's available and then the features on top of that and then the games? Games are, let's say for this specific thing, if games are actually selling us the console, then it needs to grow. And then, I mean, yeah, they're important for us in the long term. I don't know. I would say exactly what Xbox is doing is right? You get the people in, you grow your ecosystem so it's possible to even make the games in the first place, right? And grow that publisher, grow that ecosystem. But then, letting those games breathe and go somewhere else would be the better option for us. So it's a tricky freaking question, man. It's multi-layered.
Yeah.
It's multi-layered. I don't care about it. Personally,
It's hard
if I could
because-
play my Halo game on PlayStation 5, I probably don't care, but the point of it being exclusive in the first place and having it made in the first place is also good for us, so I don't know.
So here's so from the corporate perspective, I've actually had Nerd Propellant sent me some interesting stuff the other day about exclusives in general that came out of the court case that Microsoft had with the FTC, with their charting showing that exclusives don't actually move the needle that much. The effects are short-lived and don't really determine the success of a platform. Apparently, I've got this from him today as well. In the very recent post-podcast interview with The Verge, Phil Spencer has said, I know there's this fictitious world where people think that one exclusive game kind of kicks off the sales of a platform, but the industry doesn't really work that way, which kind of goes against what I was saying about it being clearly important for the platform holders. Nonetheless, they are all still doing it, so it must be important. For me as a consumer, I'm very much of the opinion that I would like everything to be everywhere. That would typically be better for me, so long as it's not detrimental to the game. I wouldn't necessarily want everything to go to the Switch, because that might make it a lesser game. If it's a game that's already designed in a way that could potentially work at its fullest on the Switch, by all means put it there. But if you're trying to make the newest Halo, and if you put it on Switch, you can't deform the terrain anymore, don't put it on the Switch. If it's going to be detrimental, then I'm less keen on it going everywhere. But otherwise, for me as a consumer, I'd like everything to be everywhere all the time. But the flip side of it is that exclusive games are typically marquee titles that stand for more than their direct kind of revenue and profit model. So you see these companies essentially pouring money in to make these the best that they can be, because they are marquee titles for their platform. And if everything was not exclusive, we would lose a little bit of that. So with everything, it's never as simple as this is clearly the best way, everything should change. There's always pros and cons to it, and there are pros and cons to the exclusive model, even though I personally sit firmly on I would like to see everything everywhere side of the fence on that one, from the consumer perspective. But
I think in an ideal world, it sounds very lovely. I am glad that Xbox has sort of doubled down on the model that we all kind of presumed that it was pursuing, because I think everybody who has followed Xbox, everybody who has owned an Xbox for a while, or has ever been part of the conversation around Xbox's viability as a platform and the quality of experience that we have, I think it has clearly improved. We have seen an improvement in what Xbox is doing as a business, and the value and quality of experience that it is delivering to its users across its ecosystem. And I'm glad that they haven't done the fundamental industry shift that I think some of us expected today. They've just gone, everything is normal. We've had to slim down some stuff, we've had to make some cuts for reasons, but the vision that you guys all assumed that we were pursuing, just so you know, we're still pursuing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's good.
So do I. Right, let's have, if there are any more, the next question, please. We will wrap up soon, but I think there's one or two more. Episode 13 has asked, Game Pass being over 34 million is good, I felt. What about, oh, hold on, it just minimized itself. What about if Microsoft put all older Call of Duty games onto Game Pass? That would be a massive boost to numbers. Nostalgia is huge. Discuss. Free Gamzly. The people that love Call of Duty already have all of the old Call of Duty games, surely. Like, it can't be that huge. There's people like me that sit here and say, I don't like Call of Duty, but I would play the campaigns on Game Pass. It can't be that monumental a shift to put games that people have already got onto Game Pass, can it?
I think we saw some excitement around old Call of Duty servers being reactivated and stuff like that. But for the most part, the people that were excited about it were people that either already owned the games or were willing to go and buy them for a relatively small amount of money. The only number that it's really going to grow or impact is people who like Call of Duty and don't currently subscribe to Game Pass but do still play it online and haven't necessarily got their discs or weren't a part of the ecosystem when it's. I don't think it's going to have the same sort of impact as what a new Call of Duty, because I do think a new Call of Duty on Game Pass, if it's timed right with a hardware launch as well, I think will do massive numbers for Xbox. That's going to be the thing that really pushes the needle. What are your thoughts, Gamzly?
Game Pass being over 34 million. We have a chart that's floating around X that is getting a lot of hate right now of their like projection of growth for Game Pass, but it looks like, and it's being targeted of being like against Xbox here in a bad way, but it looks like they're on a pretty steady bump and they're off by only 4 million subscribers. So I think the projections that they have going through 2030, they look like they're actually pretty close to the target. So I'm not sure where everybody's doom and glooming on the subs there. It looks like they're exactly where they actually thought they would be on the forecast.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's maybe a little bit of projection there, because a lot of people were expecting to doom and gloom something today, mate.
Yeah, maybe I don't know, but yeah, I think 34 million is good because they don't, like I've said many times, they have never had 4 strong games in 1 year yet. They haven't had 10 games coming in from first party, right? They said 10 this year. They haven't had that year yet. They've had drizzled years relying on third party that are always hesitant and stagger the release. So, like, you're missing out on FOMO on those like, imagine, I don't know, if they keep getting day one Yakuza games or something like that. That's the level of hype we're trying to talk about here. Because those games, if they're saying they're going to be big games, that's what I'm saying. It's like, imagine a third-party big game coming out on Game Pass, but times 4 and every year. Like, that's a lot of promise, right? And they haven't hit that cadence yet. So if they hit 4 games a year, 10 games a year with third-party plus, they're going to skyrocket. I think
and we're still
hit their
waiting
mark.
for that. We're still waiting for that as well. Like I know that's one of the reasons why Redfall was such a black eye, right? Because it was, in theory, supposed to be the first domino.
Start. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't consider
But it
Starfield
wasn't.
a black eye. I know there's a large vocal corner on Twitter who is still convinced that Starfield was a quote unquote flop, but it did fine. It just didn't do as well as it probably could have done.
Yeah, but
it still did
Headley?
fucking brilliantly.
Do you know what, Headley? If Starfield came out in a year that they're projecting right now, which is these 4 big games and these 10 big games coming out, guess where Starfield would be? Nobody gives a fuck, because the other 4 or 10 would be taking the spotlight, and it would still turn a positive. But right now it's a negative because the biggest one failed or whatever. But that's not going to be the case if they're talking the way they're talking and it comes true. I don't think that's going to be the case. And then it really does snowball into good news, good news, good news, good news. And then people just keep buying and picking up Game Pass, and it's easier to sell because let's face it, in the cashier in GameSpot right now, when physical still matters, those people are trying to sell you still PS5s. Even Starfield came out, but in a year of 4 to 5 bangers coming out, plus Call of Duty being on Game Pass, those clerks are suddenly looking over and being like, okay, well, you have what do you want, miss? Oh, a gaming console? Okay, take Game Pass. You know, like that's what they're going to be saying at one point, and the numbers will go up. I think it's a steady growth from here. I think it's a good, healthy growth from here. I don't see it falling.
It's definitely growth or otherwise. It's a real steady, healthy pipeline of content. And it shouldn't let up. They've got so many studios now that we're just going to get game on game on game on game on game. Just freaking awesome.
And I think not to sort of bring the console worry side of it in, but we saw news this week that PlayStation's first party output might look a little bit quiet. It specified new titles for existing IPs, but I'm a little bit foggy on the detail. I think there is still new content coming, but we're not going to see another God of War or another Last of Us or another Spider-Man title or another Uncharted title in the next 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, they're confident.
While Xbox has been able to say with its full chest today, like, we've got 10 games coming and you don't even know about some of them. And Call of Duty's coming. And it's probably going into Game Pass. Like, potentially this is the year that we see Xbox really hit its stride. It was in theory last year. But I think maybe we're probably overestimating the magnitude or the size or the visibility of Xbox's stride. I think it has been taking bigger and bigger strides year on year on year. I think probably because we're so close to the ecosystem, we don't necessarily see the bigger picture because it's just the place where we spend a lot of our time and talk about it week in, week out.
You might be right.
But it's coming. It is coming.
Let's do one more question and then we'll head off. I think that's probably the running length we're aiming at, isn't it? So, last question for the day, please. And while that's coming up, thank you, everyone. It's going to be a brilliant question. So thank you all for coming here and watching all this stuff with us. Like I say, I know there's an awful lot of people presenting this content today. And a lot of you have been here, so that's awesome. Oh no, it's episode 13 again. Right, can we safely say now that Game Pass is sustainable, or that they make enough from it to continue the value and great service? Anyone want to take that? There's a yes from Deadly Headley. Gamzly?
There you go, yes.
Yes, but I'm gonna confidently say I'm gonna have a bit of a yes, but yes, but we will see how they do if Call of Duty drops in Game Pass. We'll see how it does, and I think those games are gonna really determine if they could keep it up or not. I think I think it's gonna be a sign, and they're gonna gather a lot of data from it, and we never know. I think they didn't name Call of Duty for a purpose, like Asa said, protection. I think that they're willing to try to put one game in there, see how it works, and if it sells well, plus we get some Game Pass subs and everything goes well and covers development cost easy and they get a profit, I think they continue to go. But I think Call of Duty is the one that's always on the lifeline of being like, can we afford this? I don't know if it makes sense, kind of thing. So that I wouldn't be surprised if it's case by case basis as well at some point, of being like, well, maybe we don't put this one in here.
It is worth bearing in mind that because Microsoft owns everything to do with Call of Duty, it could be that actually some of the mobile experiences I actually saw. I can't remember who it was in chat. If you're still with us, give us a shout out. But someone talked about one of their friends or family members going back to Call of Duty Mobile because they liked playing there. Call of Duty Mobile makes bank for Activision and now Microsoft. It's I don't think that sort of monetary transaction is necessarily one for one, because the machine is getting fed from multiple sources. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
I think for me,
sorry.
Just the general question on like, is Game Pass sustainable? I think if we've learned one thing this week, is that you should ignore content creators making shit up. So when they tell you that it's profitable, ignore them, because they don't know anything about the numbers. Microsoft have said that it's sustainable. Microsoft have said that it's making money. They said that a while ago. More importantly, we don't care if it's profitable or making money if we've got a commitment that it's going to continue. And we got that today. They said that first-party games are going in their day and date. Sarah Bond actually said the word forever. When you talk about the old adage of never say never, she did say the word forever, and like that was a word that you can't take too seriously, because forever is forever. But for the foreseeable future, Game Pass is set, safe, working, gonna deliver for us. So it does not matter what money it's making for Microsoft.
Hands down the most important commitment that they could have made, because like we talked about last week, it is the most powerful tool that Xbox has in its arsenal, because Game Pass's value is undeniably good for anybody who's used it. Yes, you can, if you only play 2 games a year and both of those show up on Game Pass, it does make more financial sense to buy those games and only those 2 games. But for a similar price, you're getting a shit ton more content. And it sounds like that is something that A, Microsoft very much cares about, and B, doesn't want to see go away. And those are 2 major concerns that were voiced by the entirety of the Xbox community, and they've been put to bed.
Yep, it's a good point. I didn't catch her say forever. I think she was a little excited. I think she wanted to really drive the narrative away that Game Pass is going away. So good for her. Good for them on that.
Well, I hope that answered that question. We are going to wrap up now. Before we go, thank you again. Thanks everyone in chat for coming along. Thank you, Deadly and Gamzly, because this podcast is working out really well. The other ones on the channel are as well, don't get me wrong, but we just have these conversations that work. Hopefully you're all enjoying them. Gamzly, tell people what you're up to for the week ahead.
Putting Asa on ignore.
Won't make Potato a good game.
On pending ignore.
Just for that, I'm going to go and play more Last of Us after this.
Double mute, block. But yeah, I'm going to be playing some games. I'm going to be messing around with the community. I'll be on Discord, fucking around there, as I usually am. And you could catch me Monday on Boom's show on Double Barrel Gaming at 12 p.m. Eastern time for the lunch special. And here every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And
Perfect.
Here is Gaming Arcadia. Fucking put that channel on
still the Xbox Series podcast. We're gonna stick with it. It was never in doubt. It really wasn't ever in doubt.
Maybe it was. Now it is. After you showed your true colors.
Deadly Headley, tell everyone what you're up to.
What am I up to? So at some point I am going to start making some content for the YouTube channel again. I honestly, the video that I thought I was going to make over the next week now isn't going to be made because some completely different stuff happened. So maybe we probably will talk about that instead. So don't worry, you'll see something from me. Obviously you can find me here every Thursday, which is awesome. Like I love the chemistry here. I love the panel that we've got, and I'm particularly proud of this show because it was completely unplanned, unscripted. There was no we have like a doc that we go through and we make sure that we sort of agree the most important points and go through them before the show starts. This one was just off the cuff. We're just going to have to react and go with it. And it's been really fun. So I'm very, very happy with how this one has gone. And thank you both for obviously helping facilitate that as well. I am going to be playing some Super Mario Brothers Wonder with my missus this weekend, which I'm really looking forward to.
Also not Xbox.
It is also not on Xbox, no, but we are a multi-platform household. Sorry.
It's good. It's good.
No, you're not supposed to say that. Episode 13's here. God damn it.
I'm still going to be playing some Baldur's Gate. I'm still going to be playing some Halo. But that's me. If you wanna find my content, you can find me at Deadly Headley on YouTube, or you can follow me at it's at Deadly Headley _. I'm working on trying to get the account with the underscore or without the underscore, but I don't know how well that's going to go. I think it's a lost cause. But yeah, you can find me there. Thanks.
Brilliant. I'm going to reiterate that. So Deadly Headley is playing a Nintendo game and a PlayStation game. So it's a good point. This podcast is an Xbox Series podcast. We're not an Xbox corporate sponsored shilling cheerleading outfit. This is just a Gaming Arcadia podcast where we focus the news on what's going on with Xbox. It's a filter, so you get everything Xbox, but we're still real people that play everything. Hopefully that makes for good content and you all enjoy it. If you do, please come back next week. There's loads of other content on this channel, loads of other things going on. There's some game streams. Gamzly, they like it here.
What happened? I didn't say anything. What do you mean? See, audio listeners,
And
he
if
just
you-
attacks me out of nowhere. I don't understand. Free Gamzly. Hashtag.
Yeah, we'll be back next week on this one. So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you then.
Thank you very much, guys.